Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. We are diving into a really urgent dialogue today about the massive challenges facing humanity right now. We're going to explore this through the incredibly powerful vision of the great Arab thinker, Mr. Ali Mohammed Al-Shurafa Al-Hammadi. He's the founder of the International Message of Peace Foundation. And based on this fascinating exchange of letters he had with the writer, Bahgat Al-Obaidi, we're going to unpack how our current global moral collapse, well, it's not just some recent accident. It's actually the result of a massive historical deviation. Let's get right into it.
So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. Humanity's crisis in conscience. 2. Forged narratives and religion. 3. Pointless bloodshed and wars. 4. Democracy as cover. And finally, 5. Enlightenment and the Quran.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Humanity's Crisis and Conscience.
Mr. Al-Shurafa points out a pretty stark contrast when it comes to how we basically lost our collective conscience. On one hand, you have the pure divine approach. This is a methodology completely built on justice, mercy, and fundamental human dignity. The Quran is the absolute main reference for setting up these values. But then, you have people driven by greed for worldly gains. They've essentially replaced these pure values with their own massive egos, creating what he actually calls satanic alliances. Because they completely lack faith in the afterlife, they trade mercy for cruelty and totally restrict human freedom with these heavy chains of aggression.
Let's move right along to Section 2, Forged Narratives and Religion.
Now, the great Arab thinker, Mr. Ali Mohammed Al-Shurafa Al-Hammadi, exposes a really painful historical truth here. Right after the Prophet's death, a massive, dangerous pivot happened. People essentially abandoned the clear, pure message of the Quran. And that void, well, it allowed these completely forged historical narratives to pop up and basically hijack the religion over the centuries. This huge ideological shift is directly tied to the non-stop international tyranny and bloodshed we are still seeing today.
So, those forged accounts, which were falsely attributed to the Prophet, they actually created what's essentially a parallel religion. This distorted belief system ran alongside the true religion, but was completely against the Quran, and it totally distanced people from the true Word of God. Instead of sparking a real human renaissance, it actually fueled malice and these totally satanic calls for aggression. It completely warped human values and blocked our path to genuine progress.
Which brings us to the devastating consequences in Section 3, Pointless Bloodshed and Wars. Just pause and think about this staggering number for a second. 100 million. At least 100 million human beings were killed in the First and Second World Wars alone. The finger points straight to this horrific reality as the ultimate, undeniable proof of what happens when humanity abandons the Quranic methodology and totally severs its connection to divine mercy. It perfectly illustrates the catastrophic fallout of leaving the divine approach. It just leads straight to the unchecked spread of global conflict. Looking at that kind of horrific death toll, Al-Shurafa poses a seriously profound rhetorical question. When the fear of God is gone and the living human conscience is just dead, what did these massive wars actually achieve? I mean, rivers of blood were spilled for what? Just to feed the totally pointless greed of a select few? It really exposes the utter emptiness of violence when your moral compass is completely broken.
Shifting gears slightly, let's look at Section 4, Democracy as Cover. Fast forward to today, right? The excuses for pillaging the world have definitely evolved. Modern dictators now use this colorful, completely fake facade of democracy and freedom to basically mask their crimes. The sources really expose how international greed weaponizes these supposedly ethical slogans to launch destructive wars and steal from weaker nations. The rhetoric might sound incredibly noble on the surface, but the reality is that it's dripping with the blood of innocent children, women, and the elderly. And how does the global community react to this kind of tyranny? With complete and utter silence. Al-Shurafa highlights the shocking reality of global leaders just watching a dictator blatantly violate a nation's sovereignty without so much as a single hair shaking in protest. Why? Because the human conscience has essentially died. Moral values have totally collapsed, and these leaders are just turning a blind eye to international bandits because they're terrified for their own fragile, satanic alliances. Finally, we arrive at the solution in Section 5, Enlightenment and the Quran.
This is where writer Bahgat Al-Obaidi really steps in to express his profound appreciation for the great Arab thinker, Mr. Ali Mohammed Al-Shurafa Al-Hammadi. He deeply values Al-Shurafa's enlightening role in exposing these incredibly painful historical truths. In fact, Al-Obaidi wholeheartedly agrees that this Enlightenment project is literally the only salvation for our tortured world. By returning to the Quran as the absolute and sole reference, humanity can finally drop centuries of fake historical baggage and actually protect itself from the evils of human greed.
So how do we actually make this project happen? The sources give us some very practical, crucial steps. We need to boldly expose all this international greed. We have to completely reject that fake religious heritage, and we must return exclusively to the Quran to guide us back to peace. But most importantly, we have to free our minds from this totally distorted legacy that has warped the core of religion, so we can finally restore our pure, natural, divine human instinct.
Throughout this explainer, we've walked through a pretty painful historical diagnosis. So, the ultimate question I want to leave you with is this: will humanity actually free its mind from this distorted legacy and return to our pure, divine nature? Can we embrace the Quranic methodology of true peace before it's literally too late? Or are we just doomed to let greed dictate our total ruin? It's a lot to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next explainer.
مؤسسة رسالة السلام العالمية، رسالة إنسانية لعالم أكثر سلاماً.